Welcome back, everybody. Now, every parent wants to put their children in the best position for success. It all starts with setting a good example, ongoing education and expressing the importance of developing good saving habits. Stash for Kids, an add-on to the existing Stash app, allows parents or guardians to open a tax-free investment account for their minor children in the child's name. Parents can save up to 36,000 Rand a year and about 500,000 over their child's lifetime into a tax-free investment directly from their mobile phones. Now, to share more on the app, we're now joined by Grimley, Chief Specialist for Digital Proposition Management at Liberty. Glenn, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, Spirit. Thanks for having me.
It does appear like an interesting innovation. How does this app work?
Absolutely. So, the traditional market for investments is very convoluted and very difficult to get into. And a couple of years ago at Liberty, we decided to try and debunk all of that and try and break down those barriers to entry. And really, Stash is an app that allows you to put little bits of money regularly, if not every day, into a tax-free investment directly from your phone. And there's a couple of features on the phone that involve you in your investment journey. And basically, you use your everyday lived experiences to invest little bits of money into a tax-free investment. And because it's an app, it's absolutely free. So every single cent that you put into your tax-free account with Stash is yours. And because it's tax-free, every cent of growth that you get is also yours.
Why was this introduced in a form of an app, though?
I beg your pardon?
Why was this introduced in the form of an app?
Absolutely. So when we did our research, we saw that there were three key barriers to entry for South African savings. And one of the key ones was engagement by everyday South Africans with financial institutions. Traditionally, to open up a tax-free investment, it's very, very difficult. You've got reams of paper and all sorts of jargon and financial jargon that is thrown at you, which kind of destroys your confidence in wanting to open up a financial product. And so we decided to rather go an app route where basically the customer has the full range of functionality available to them at any time directly from their phone. So traditional products, there's a lot of commitment that you need to make. You need to set up debit orders or have a minimum balance. And with us, we decided, no, let's rather go with an app. You can download it, and in your own time, you can change the settings as you go about your everyday lives. As financial reality hits you, potentially if you get an increase, you can just dial up your amount that you put into the app. If you have a financial shock, I don't know, the geyser bursts or something happens to your house or something, you can then dial it down, and that's all done from an app. So all the control is put into the hands of the customer, and they can do it in real time directly from an app, as opposed to the traditional methods where you'd have to phone someone, stand in the queue, fill out a form, etc.
So where is the money stashed, though?
The money is underwritten and managed by Liberty Group Limited, but there are two portfolios in the Stash app, and that really talks to us trying to make it as simple as possible so that the everyday consumer can actually get into investments and savings. But there's one portfolio which gives you a low-risk guaranteed return of 3.5% currently. And that's called the Cash Plus portfolio. And then you've got another portfolio called the SA Top 40 Shares portfolio, which gives you exposure to the top 40 shares on the JSE. Obviously, that is a high risk, more longer term portfolio with all sorts of ups and downs. So if you're happy to ride the roller coaster, that portfolio is for you. But because you've got an app now, you can choose which portfolio or combination of the portfolios you want to invest in. And again, because the control is in your hands, you can open up your app at any time and change which portfolios you're investing in.
I know, but for many, it's quite difficult to believe that this kind of investment plan will be tax-free. Is there any terms and conditions, perhaps? Is there any fine print that we should focus on?
Sure. So the tax-free investment was something that government, together with the industry back in 2016, launched. And really it was to address the low savings rate in South Africa, and particularly the long-term savings or retirement savings. So Stash has been issued under the auspices of the Section 12T of the Income Tax Act, which makes it tax-free. But yes, there are a couple of restrictions on that. For instance, you're not allowed to, well, you shouldn't, no, you're not allowed to invest more than 36,000 Rand per year and 500,000 Rand over your lifetime into a tax-free investment. That doesn't mean that it can't grow beyond those amounts, and obviously you would want it to grow. You would let your money work for you, but those are the limits. But otherwise, there aren't too many other limits. You can withdraw whenever you need to. That's a legal requirement that tax-free investments bring to the party. But obviously, being tax-free, you would want to invest for as long as possible. Because there's no tax on your returns, you get the compounding growth on those returns. So you maximize your ability to grow your money. And therefore, it's more of a long-term savings plan or investment plan. But, the reality hits. People need money for whatever reason. And we've seen that during the COVID period, that people become cash-strapped. And absolutely, you can take your money out of the tax-free investment. And with Stash, there's no fees or penalties or charges for doing so. We will release that money directly again from the app when you need your money.
As this investment is tax-free, does it also mean that there is no tax on growth or dividends?
None whatsoever. So there's no tax on interest, no tax on growth, capital growth, no tax on dividends. And within all tax-free products around the country, that is the status quo.
Is there a maximum you can stash out in a year?
So you can put in a maximum of 36,000 Rand per year. As I said, that can grow to whatever amount over your lifetime. And with withdrawals, you can withdraw as much as you need to. So if you spend, let's say, 5 years putting in your tax-free investments and you've got 150,000 Rand there, obviously you can withdraw that all. Again, because it's tax-free, you would want to leave it in as long as possible. But the reality of everyday South Africans is that financial reality hits at any time. And we go through ups and downs in our financial journeys, and therefore the ability to withdraw is an important aspect of the tax-free investment.
So many people are so wary with such innovations as this investment, tax-free investment account. Is this safe though? And can it be cashed out whenever the child is ready?
Absolutely. So the Stash product is underwritten by Liberty, and Liberty has been around for over 65 years, creating financial products for the betterment of society and the individual. So your money is invested with Stash, underwritten by Liberty, and managed by them. And absolutely, for your child, if you start putting money away for your child, let's say at the age of 1 or 2, even when they're born, they need to be alive, unfortunately, to open up at Stash. But if you leave it there until if you max out your tax-free allowance until they reach the age of 18, you'll be able to give them a really, really good financial foundation for their adult lives. And we call that leaving a living legacy, something that you can pass on to your children so that when they're adults, they've actually got a solid foundation. You'll have a couple of 100,000 Rand in a tax-free investment for them to go into that new phase of their lives, which I think is probably one of the best gifts that any parent could give their child.
So is it a must that the child needs to reach the age of 18? Bearing in mind that some kids reach, varsity from the age of 16, perhaps.
Yeah, so this now becomes a little bit technical in terms of the law. So Stash for Kids is an investment that's opened in the name of the child. So that child now is actually contracting with the investment provider, being Liberty at this stage. And that means that we only contract with the parent or the guardian. You need to be a legal guardian of the child. But when the child turns 18, he or she now becomes emancipated. So legally, they have all the rights to that contract. And from a legal standpoint, because now they're emancipated, the guardian loses their technical control over the investment. So absolutely, while children are still at varsity and parents think they own and can control their child from a legal standpoint, unfortunately for the parents, the child needs to take over control of that investment. But that's part of the journey that we're trying to create with Stash, is this financial literacy and this financial education. So that parents can sit through the lifetime of the child and sit with them with their Stash and show them how much money is going in and why money is going in and looking at the growth. Hopefully by the time the child is 18, they've got that foundation not only on the cash side, but also on the financial literacy and financial education side to understand what it means to be responsible for such a large sum of money and what it means to let that money stay there and compound growth. So that's part of that journey that we're trying to bring through Stash. And the app allows that because you've got real-time access to it. at any time during the day, around the dinner table, you can open up the app and you can look at your stash. You can see all the transactions that are going in. You can see the growth that's happening. You can see the growth differential between the cash plus portfolio and the equity portfolio. And all of that just builds up a foundation and grounding in financial literacy and financial education.
Is there a limit, perhaps, as to how much can be invested?
500,000 Rand is the lifetime limit for tax-free investments.
Okay.
But 500,000, again, is only what you can put in. And unfortunately, if you withdraw, you can't replace that withdrawal. So that's quite an important technical aspect that people need to be aware of. But that 500,000 Rand can grow. And the longer it stays there, the more it can grow. I mean, that could grow over a child's lifetime between the age of 0 and 40 to, in excess of 25, 30 million Rand. And so what you really want to do is you want to use that opportunity of that tax-freeness to compound your growth.
Now, for purposes of avoiding some management fees, perhaps some parents may opt to, have 2 kids in one account. Is that allowed, though? Can I open one account for 2 kids or one account for each child?
So you mentioned two aspects there. One was the fees. Absolutely, fees do eat into your opportunity to grow, and that's why with Stash we decided to go as fee-free. We've kept it really simple, we've kept it really lean, and therefore we can absorb the costs within Liberty and make it absolutely free for everyone, because Stash is about creating financial freedom in the long term and breaking any poverty cycles that we have within the country. In terms of opening the Stash account for your kids, because the investment is in the name of the child, you would have to open up one stash for each child.
Okay.
That's actually a good thing. You don't want your 2 children fighting in the future over who has what access to what in an account.
Right.
But within the stash, we've got an unlimited number of children that you're allowed on stash under your profile as the parent or guardian. And therefore, within the app, on a screen, you can see all your child accounts and you'll be able to see their balances and be able to stash away for them.
All right, Glenn, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, briefly, what do you need to get started?
All you need is a smartphone, a little bit of internet connectivity, and if you download the app, within 2 minutes, you'll probably be able to open up a fully fledged tax-free investment account in your own name, and then give yourself another 2 minutes per child.
All right, Glenn Grimley, great chatting to you, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.